Recently, the Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber, along with several regional partners, were selected for Phase 1 funding from the federal government's Build Back Better Challenge. Here to discuss is Shea MacMillan, the Chamber's Director of Economic Development Projects. Shea, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here, Mike.
Could you tell us a little bit about that effort and what you're driving towards?
I think our chamber, along with many other organizations in Northeast Ohio, for the first time came together at an unprecedented level to apply for the Build Back Better Challenge, which is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get some funding for projects that I don't think we would have seen come down the pike.
Sure.
Without
and congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a major group effort. We had over 200 letters of support for the application, so we played a small part in it, but we're happy to play a part in it nonetheless.
So tell us a little bit about the first round of funding, what you were awarded, and you're hoping it will lead to Phase 2 funding, and tell us a little bit about where that will hopefully lead.
Sure. So it was a $500,000 planning grant for the Phase 1 that was approved for us in Northeast Ohio. The focus in the Youngstown market would be with Bright Energy Innovators out of Warren to pursue a $8 million construction project for a battery research center.
Correct. So do you have a timeline for when we might know more about how this is going to proceed, if we're going to get the Phase 2 funding?
So we've been staying engaged, and our partners at Magnet, who have been spearheading the application, have been doing such a fantastic job of coordinating all of the 8 projects that are woven into the Build Back Better, one being the Bright application. We would know the Phase 2 approval by March. So, we have to get it in by March. So it is still a rush to get a lot of information together, and I applaud all the folks that are working on it.
Okay, so the Battery Research Center, that's the only one that would be located in the Mahoning Valley, correct?
Absolutely, but that's not to say the other 7 projects wouldn't be a huge asset for the companies in our market. They are projects that are focusing on supporting polymers, water, healthcare, and aerospace. So clearly those other 7 projects would really be an asset and help directly and indirectly support the activity in the valley.
Sure, and they're all regional projects, so that helps everybody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Is there any talks about where that center could possibly be located or anything like that, or is it still too early to say any of that?
I think preliminary discussions have been focused around Warren in proximity to Bright's current facility.
So should you receive that funding, should that be successful, and we're building this plant, this center, I guess what kind of opportunities does the regional chamber see that providing to the area, to Bright Energy Innovators, to the Mahoning Valley?
I think it plays into the entire theme of Voltage Valley and acts as another asset for us to leverage when we're engaging with manufacturers or companies that are trying to step into the electrification of vehicles. So I think it's a resource for companies that are currently in the battery space, as well as maybe some of our legacy manufacturers that have a resource in their neighborhood that they can tap into and learn more about it.
And speaking of that, we have Lordstown Motors, who is partnering with Foxconn. We have Bright. We have Altium. There's talks about them maybe going forward with a battery recycling plant near their operations that's going up in Lordstown. So we have a lot of electrification activity here in the Mahoning Valley. How does that play into your economic development efforts at the Youngstown Warren Regional Chamber?
Well, we certainly want to leverage the attention, and
Sure.
we certainly are getting attention. I'd say one of the fantastic things about the Altium joint venture between General Motors and LG Chem is just the sheer inquiries we're getting from South Korean companies, even outside of the EV space. So companies that have just heard that an entity like LG Chem is investing in Northeast Ohio, and more specifically the Mahoning Valley, gets them asking, what does the Mahoning Valley have to offer for them? So we've certainly been getting much more inquiries from South Korea and I think companies in general that that are familiar with those big players.
And even the Foxconn partnership, that had to have been quite a shot in the arm. A lot of people had to, I imagine, stood up and took notice of that. That's a big, kind of a big player all of a sudden moving into Lordstown. Were you getting a lot of interest from that announcement?
Absolutely, and some of the exciting things I see coming with Foxconn is their ability to diversify. Being a contract manufacturer and having relationships with Fisker and Fiat, I think gives us a much more diversified approach to that 6 million square foot facility in Lordstown. Not only being able to be an in-house manufacturer for Lordstown Motors, but also being able to take on manufacturing contracts outside of the electric vehicle market and continue to produce good manufacturing jobs here locally.
So outside of the Voltage Valley movement, outside of electric vehicles and batteries and all of that, I guess Chamber, I imagine, is still pursuing economic development efforts in other areas. I guess, could you talk about some of those other areas? Are there particular other focus areas that you're looking at? Are there other promising areas where you're paying particular attention right now?
I'd say outside of the EV space, which is huge, we are certainly paying attention to our traditional manufacturers. We understand that Ohio is #1 in engine manufacturing and #2 in transmission manufacturing. So as we move into the electrification of vehicles and ICE starts to meet its end of life cycle, ICE engines.
I don't know what an ICE engine. Oh, internal combustion engine. I got it. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. It made sense. I just
we've been
needed a
throwing
second.
out so many acronyms.
Right.
You've got to maybe clarify a little bit. But so
I was thinking of ice because it's cold out. I was like, how are the engines and the ice going to? What I don't know what I was doing.
It's a terrible time to introduce ICE as an acronym when it's winter. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So internal combustion engines.
Internal combustion engines. Yeah, we've got a lot of supply chain in the traditional automotive industry. So we are engaging with those manufacturers and introducing them to resources and saying, how can we help you, as we know these products you're currently producing may not be on the market in the next decade. So introducing to partners, one being Magnet, the folks that assisted in the Build Back Better application, are also engineering consultants who we've brought into facilities in the Mahoning Valley to evaluate how they could adjust their production lines and step into new areas, as well as introducing them to our partners at America Makes, who maybe suggest an additive manufacturing play in a transition. So really thinking outside of the box to ensure that as we move from a matured automotive industry to the new emerging EVs, how we continue to capture as much of the pie as possible, but not lose the current pie that we have.
So anything big coming down in 2022, Shea?
I think we've got a lot of exciting things, as we talked about with the buzz.
Feel free to break news. Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
Give me whatever you got.
I don't think the news will be that exciting, but we certainly have a very strong pipeline. One of the strongest pipelines we've seen. A lot of mega projects are coming down the pike.
Well, that is exciting.
And when
That's
I say
exciting.
yeah, mega projects, we're looking
mega
at
projects are great. They're mega.
The name alone could get you excited, right? But we're looking at when you talk about a mega project, you're speaking to a $2 billion investment and at least 1,000 jobs. So these are major commitments that these companies are making, and there are tangible site selection efforts going around the Midwest right now on a handful of mega projects, more so than I've seen in my tenure at the Chamber. And I'd say with the BDM property and our Western Reserve Port Authority taking on that property and working with us to market it. And
which property is that? The former RG Steel?
The former RG Steel property. So that offers a contiguous developable space today of just under 500, and the total property is over 1,000 acres. So that is one of the few mega sites that we have in the state of Ohio, and I'd argue in the Midwest. So we get tons of inquiries specifically to the mega projects that are coming down the pike. So to continue being on radars for opportunities that have no relationship to the electrification or other projects we've talked about, or sectors that exist here, I think is very exciting and bodes well for our future.
So we're going to land at least one of those mega projects.
That's the goal.
Shea, thank you very much for your time today.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, Mike.
Yep. And you can read more on this topic in our Growth Report 2022, which is available in print or online. Click subscribe at businessjournaldaily.com to see our plans and choose the one that is right for you.
717 Credit Union. Business services designed to meet your daily needs. Commercial loans, business deposits, merchant and payroll services. 717 Credit Union. It's knowing you were treated right every time.